What if I told you that up to 80% of older adults are quietly approaching the final year of their life, and their families don't even realize it? You might think, not my mom, she just lost a little weight, or dad's just been a bit tired lately. But those small, subtle changes, they're not always harmless signs of aging. If you've already lost someone, and now you wonder if you missed the signs, comment, "I wish I knew." And if you're still lucky enough to have someone here, hit subscribe and learn before it's too late again. They might be the body's final signals, a silent SOS, that we miss until it's too late. And that's the hardest part. Most people don't realize the truth until they're looking back, standing at a funeral, replaying the last few months in their minds, whispering to themselves, "I wish I had seen it sooner." We're taught to recognize the signs of life, how to nurture it, how to prolong it. But no one teaches us how to recognize when life is preparing to say goodbye. Did you know that the human body can begin signaling the end, up to a year before death actually occurs? It doesn't happen in dramatic scenes like in the movies. There's no announcement, no final speech. Instead, it shows up in quiet ways. A loss of appetite here. A strange new fatigue there. Moments of confusion that come and go. And we brush them off. Because no one told us to look deeper. No one warned us that the body often speaks before the heart stops beating. But here's the truth. When you understand these signs, you gain something powerful, a chance. A chance to provide the right care. A chance to say the things you've been putting off. A chance to honor someone's final chapter with grace, peace, and love. And if you miss these signs, you may not just lose time. You may lose the opportunity to do right by someone you love, before it's too late. That's why this matters. Because in just a moment, we're going to walk through 5 key warning signs that often show up months before the final decline. Some of them may seem ordinary, like sleeping more than usual, or clothes fitting more loosely. But what they really mean might shock you. So if you've noticed something different in a parent, a grandparent, or even yourself, don't look away. This is your chance to understand what's really happening, before it becomes a goodbye you weren't ready for. Sign number 1. Unexplained weight loss, the body's silent collapse. If your aging loved one is starting to lose weight without trying, please, don't brush it off as just old age. Weight loss in seniors isn't always about appetite or diet. Sometimes, it's the body quietly signaling that something deeper is breaking down. Something you can't see. Something you must not ignore. The truth beneath the scale, when the body begins to shut down. Imagine a machine that's no longer running at full capacity. It starts burning less fuel. Parts slow down. Systems begin to quietly power off. That's what happens inside the aging body, especially when it's preparing for its final phase. When older adults lose weight unintentionally, it's often not because they're eating less. It's because their body can no longer absorb, process, or retain what they eat. Muscle mass begins to waste away, not because of inactivity, but because the ability to digest and utilize protein is deteriorating. The liver slows. The gut becomes less efficient. And even if they're eating normally, their body may be acting like it's starving. Here's a common scene. A grandmother who once loved family dinners now picks at her plate. Her pants no longer fit. Her arms seem thinner every week. And what do we say? She's just getting older. It happens. But no. It's more than that. This is a red flag. A systemic red flag. Warning, the harm in good intentions. Why, feeding them more might be the wrong move. When families notice this kind of weight loss, the first instinct is often to fix it with food. Let's make her favorite dishes. Get some high-calorie snacks. We'll fatten her up again. But here's what many don't realize. If the digestive system is no longer functioning well, if the pancreas and enzymes are slowing, if the liver isn't metabolizing efficiently, then stuffing the body with more food can actually make things worse. Too much food in a failing digestive system can lead to nausea, bloating, discomfort, or even vomiting. Worse, it can make the person feel pressured, lose dignity, and withdraw even further. You're not saving them by forcing them to eat. You may be ignoring what their body is telling you loud and clear. I can't do this anymore. What actually helps? Quality over quantity, nourishing with compassion. So what should you do when weight loss begins, and it's clear that something deeper is going on? You shift the goal. You stop chasing calories. You start prioritizing comfort, digestibility, and dignity. Here's what that looks like. Small, frequent meals instead of 3 big ones. Liquid nutrition, protein shakes, fortified drinks, smoothies made with Greek yogurt or nut butters. Soft, easy-to-chew foods that don't require much digestive effort. Think avocado, oatmeal, scrambled eggs. Hydration with electrolytes, especially if energy is low and appetite is fading. And most importantly, no guilt, no pressure, no force feeding. According to a 2023 study by Mayo Clinic, in adults over 80, the value of meals is not measured in calories, but in comfort, tolerance, and emotional ease. This isn't about feeding a body back to life. This is about feeding connection, comfort, and peace, even as the body lets go. Final thought, what weight loss is really telling you. If your loved one is losing weight without trying, don't just adjust their meals. Adjust your mindset. Because weight loss in the elderly is rarely just physical. It's emotional. It's systemic. It's the body whispering that the time ahead may be limited. And when you hear that whisper, don't panic. Don't overcorrect. Just listen. Support. Nourish with gentleness. And give them what they need most right now. Presence, patience, and love. Sign number 2, extreme fatigue, when the body begins to retreat. There's a kind of tired that sleep doesn't fix. Not the kind of fatigue that comes from a long day or a restless night, but a deeper, more haunting exhaustion. One that slowly takes over, making once simple tasks feel insurmountable. And when this kind of tiredness appears in an elderly loved one, we need to listen, because their body may be telling us, I'm shutting down. This isn't laziness, it's the heart and lungs waving a white flag. We often associate slowing down in old age with simply getting weaker or losing motivation. But in truth, this kind of whole-body fatigue is a physiological signal of declining organ function, especially in the heart and lungs. As the cardiovascular and respiratory systems lose efficiency, the body becomes less capable of delivering oxygen and nutrients to the muscles. Even a short walk can leave someone breathless. Climbing stairs becomes a challenge. Sitting up for too long feels like running a marathon. Imagine this. Your father used to enjoy riding his bike every morning. These days, he can't make it up the stairs without stopping to catch his breath. You think, maybe he's just getting older. But in reality, his heart may no longer be pumping strongly enough to meet his body's basic needs. This isn't about willpower. It's about biology. And it's the body's way of saying, I'm conserving what little energy I have left. Pushing them to keep moving may do more harm than good. Here's a hard truth. The end of life is not the time to train for endurance. Yet many well-meaning family members, hoping to keep their loved ones strong, encourage daily walks, physical therapy, or exercise routines, believing it will help them bounce back. But the reality is, forcing physical activity during this phase can deplete precious energy the body simply doesn't have. When the body is in retreat mode, it doesn't need stimulation, it needs surrender. Gentle, compassionate surrender. This doesn't mean giving up. It means changing the goal, from building strength to preserving peace. From pushing the body to honoring its limits. Because every ounce of energy saved can be used for something far more meaningful, a conversation, a memory, a moment of connection. What modern geriatric care recommends instead? According to the American Geriatric Society, end-of-life care should shift focus from physical activity to what they call emotional energy preservation. This includes reducing physical demands and avoiding overstimulation, encouraging emotional and sensory engagement, gentle conversation, calming music, the familiar scent of a favorite meal, integrating light massage, touch therapy, or hand-holding to maintain human connection without physical strain. The environment matters, too. Create a space that supports deep rest and comfort. A supportive mattress and pillows to reduce pressure on joints. Soft, natural lighting. Minimal noise. Easy access to water or light snacks within arm's reach. All of these things help the body do what it needs most in this stage. Rest, restore, and slowly let go with dignity. If you see deep fatigue, don't push, pause. When your loved one says they're tired, believe them. If they can't get out of bed, don't encourage them to, just try harder. They're not weak. They're not lazy. They're entering one of the most sacred, most vulnerable chapters of the human experience. And your role isn't to coach them through it. It's to sit beside them. Hold their hand. Help them feel safe and seen in a body that's winding down. Sign number 3, confusion and withdrawal, when the brain begins to fade. There's something quietly heartbreaking about watching a loved one begin to slip away, not physically, but mentally. They're still here, sitting right in front of you. But the sparkle in their eyes starts to fade. Their sentences trail off. Their attention drifts. They forget names, places, sometimes even who you are. And the hardest part? It can happen long before the final days. The brain is the first to feel the decline. Among all the organs in the body, the brain is the most sensitive to oxygen. So when circulation slows and oxygen delivery drops, as it often does in the later stages of life, the brain is usually the first to struggle. Forgetfulness, disorientation, sudden irritability, a sharp mind that starts to fog, then flicker. These aren't just signs of getting older. They're often early indicators of reduced cerebral blood flow, microscopic strokes, or declining neurotransmitter function. Take this common scenario. A grandmother is perfectly alert in the morning. By afternoon, she's confused, repeats herself, and doesn't recognize the grandchild sitting beside her. You might think she's just tired. But medically, this could be a silent stroke or temporary cerebral hypoxia, episodes that often go undiagnosed but cause real cognitive shifts. And when these episodes repeat, the brain begins to retreat, one memory, one thought, one word at a time. They're not being difficult, they're doing their best to hold on. Here's a truth that too few people understand. When an elderly person becomes confused, withdrawn, or even aggressive, it's not a character flaw. It's a survival mechanism. The brain, faced with overwhelming internal changes, does what it must to cope. It shuts down what feels non-essential: memory, attention, even emotional connection. But many families, unprepared for this change, respond with frustration. Why won't she answer me? He just said that 5 minutes ago. She's being stubborn. What we forget is that confusion is terrifying, for them too. When we raise our voices, correct them, or insist they remember, we're not helping. We're overloading a brain that's already fighting to stay online. This isn't losing their mind. This is the brain's version of self-preservation. Speak to the heart, not just the mind. In this stage, logic and memory may falter, but emotion often remains intact. That's why the most powerful support you can offer is not a fact, but a feeling. Don't push them to remember. Don't demand they pay attention. Instead, hold their hand. Speak slowly, softly, and with warmth. Use music, scent, or touch to spark calm and connection. According to a 2022 study by Harvard's Aging Lab, even in moderate to severe cognitive decline, emotional response to gentle physical touch remains consistent and reassuring. This is crucial, because even when the brain can't process a sentence, the heart can still register love. And in their world of growing confusion, that feeling is an anchor. If they seem far away, don't shout. Lean in. Cognitive decline at the end of life is not just about forgetting. It's about detaching from a world that feels increasingly overwhelming. So instead of trying to pull them back into our reality, meet them where they are. Sit beside them in silence. Match their energy. Let them feel safe, not scrutinized. Because at this stage, what matters isn't what they remember. It's how they feel in your presence. And if they feel calm, accepted, and loved, then you're giving them exactly what they need to navigate the final stretch of this life, with dignity. Sign number 4. Frequent infections, when the immune system quietly steps down. In a younger body, infection often comes with a fanfare. Fever, inflammation, and clear signs that something is wrong. But in the aging body, especially one nearing the final chapter, those alarms grow faint. The immune system doesn't raise its voice anymore. It just slips away. And when it does, it leaves the door wide open for problems that look mild but mean something far more serious. Infections don't always look like infections anymore. We expect illness to come with warning signs: high fever, chills, coughing fits, or swollen glands. But in older adults, especially in the last year of life, those classic symptoms often disappear. Instead, infections show up like this. A loved one who suddenly stops eating. A normally talkative parent who becomes unusually quiet or confused. A grandparent who just seems off and wants to stay in bed all day. These vague changes, often brushed off as just aging, could be signs of a urinary tract infection, UTI, early pneumonia, a skin infection or wound that isn't healing. Take this example. A grandfather who normally chats during breakfast is now sitting in silence, eyes half closed, uninterested in food. The family thinks, maybe he didn't sleep well. But later, they learn he has a serious lung infection, and never once had a cough. This is what makes infections in late life so dangerous. They don't shout. They whisper. And if you're not paying close attention, you'll miss the message. When treatment makes things worse, the danger of doing too much. It's natural to want to jump into action. When a loved one seems sick, families often rush to solutions. Call the doctor. Get antibiotics. Push fluids. Insist on hospital care. But here's the hard truth. Sometimes, our well-meaning actions add stress to a body that can no longer keep up. Older adults at the end of life may have weakened kidneys, fragile veins, or poor tolerance to aggressive medications. A strong antibiotic might overwhelm the gut. For fluids could cause fluid overload or even shortness of breath. And a hospital stay might trigger delirium, falls, or simply more disconnection. That doesn't mean we stop caring. It means we shift the goal. From curing the illness to easing the experience. Because when the immune system has stepped back, the right response isn't to fight harder. It's to comfort deeper. Palliative wisdom. When comfort becomes the best medicine. End-of-life care experts agree. When infections become frequent, persistent, or slow to heal, it's time to change the approach. Not out of defeat, but out of love. Here's what high-quality, evidence-based comfort care recommends. Keep the skin clean and moisturized to prevent sores and infections. Encourage small, frequent sips of fluids, not to hydrate aggressively, but to keep the mouth moist and body comfortable. Watch for subtle signs of infection, changes in alertness, appetite, mood, rather than relying on fever or pain. Avoid unnecessary hospital visits when symptoms can be managed at home with proper support. As the World Health Organization states, end-of-life care does not focus on curing. It focuses on providing comfort, dignity, and emotional presence to the very end. This kind of care doesn't mean giving up. It means choosing quality over quantity, and choosing presence over procedures. If infections keep coming, ask a different question. Instead of asking, how can we stop this infection? Try asking, how can we make them feel safer, calmer, and more at peace, right now? Because when the immune system is no longer standing guard, the best defense is not a pill or a drip. It's you. Your attentiveness. Your gentleness. Your willingness to see the difference between treatment and torture. And your courage to say, maybe it's not about fighting anymore. Maybe it's about loving better than we ever have before. Sign number 5. Changes in breathing and circulation, when the body begins its final departure. There is a moment, quiet, subtle, but deeply telling, when the body begins to release its hold on life. It doesn't always look dramatic. In fact, it's often mistaken for just being tired or coming down with something. But to those who know what to look for, it's a signal. The final journey has begun. It's not just fatigue, it's the heart slowing down. Breathing patterns reveal more than we think. When someone nears the end of life, their breath can become shallow, uneven, or disturbingly quiet. Pauses between breaths grow longer. In some moments, it may even seem like they've stopped breathing altogether, only to start again a few seconds later. This pattern is known as Cheyne-Stokes respiration, and it's one of the clearest signs that the body is winding down. Along with these changes, the hands and feet may begin to feel cold to the touch. The skin, especially on the fingers, toes, or around the lips, can take on a bluish or purplish hue. This happens because the heart is no longer strong enough to pump blood to the body's extremities. Instead, it begins prioritizing vital organs. Picture this. A grandmother sits propped against the wall, struggling to catch her breath. There's a faint gurgling sound when she exhales. Her children worry she's coming down with a cold. But in reality, her heart is slowing, her circulation pulling inward, her body beginning its final retreat. Not every breathless moment is a medical emergency. The instinct to call 911 is understandable. Shortness of breath is frightening, for both the person experiencing it and those watching. But here's a critical shift in perspective. If your loved one is in end-of-life care, the goal is no longer to fix, it's to comfort. Emergency interventions like oxygen tanks, intubation, or transport to a hospital may seem helpful, but they often result in confusion, fear, or unnecessary pain. In many cases, the individual may pass away not in the comfort of their home, but under fluorescent lights, surrounded by machines and strangers. This isn't a failure of love, it's a failure of understanding. Because in this stage of life, dignity matters more than intervention. So what should you do? Help them breathe with peace. There are gentle, non-invasive ways to bring relief and comfort during this stage. These small adjustments can ease the physical discomfort while preserving emotional peace. Here's what hospice and palliative care experts recommend. Elevate the upper body using pillows or a reclining chair. Lying flat can make breathing more difficult. Use a cool mist humidifier to keep the air moist and reduce throat irritation. Gently massage the hands or feet, which can be both soothing and help ease mild circulatory discomfort. Maintain a calm, quiet environment. Sudden noises or frantic energy can heighten distress. Sit close, speak gently, and offer presence, not pressure. Sometimes, just holding their hand can ease the fear they may not know how to express. According to the American Hospice Foundation, end-of-life breath care is not about forcing life to stay. It's about helping someone leave with grace. When breathing changes, so should your role. If you notice irregular breathing, cold extremities, or skin discoloration, it may be time to shift from doing to simply being. Don't rush. Don't panic. Sit with them. Let your calm be their comfort. Because in these final days, it's not machines or medicine that matter most. It's human connection, quiet presence, gentle care. And while you can't change the destination, you can make the journey softer. You can be the steady hand that helps them let go, not in fear, but in peace. Final thoughts. As we come to the end of this video, take a moment to reflect on what we've discussed. We explored 5 subtle yet powerful signs that often appear in the final year of an elderly person's life: significant weight loss, deep fatigue, cognitive confusion, recurring infections, and changes in breathing and circulation. These aren't random symptoms. They're the body's quiet way of preparing for release, for peace, for transition. They may be hard to recognize, and even harder to accept. But once we learn to see them not with fear, but with compassion, we gain the clarity to walk alongside our loved ones with calm and purpose. Not to stop what's coming, but to ensure that their final months are filled with love, dignity, and comfort. This is a time for cherishing moments, sharing stories, and choosing presence over panic. To sit in stillness with someone who matters. To say what needs to be said. To simply hold a hand without needing to fix anything. Because when we understand what's happening, we no longer feel helpless, we feel prepared. And in that readiness, we discover strength, patience, and peace. Thank you for joining us today. We'd love to hear from you. Share one thing you learned in the comments and how it may shape how you care for someone you love. Your voice matters. And someone else reading your words might find the hope they need. If you found this helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow for more compassionate, expert-driven content. You are not alone on this journey. And we look forward to seeing you in the next video.